welcome.
Well, good morning, everybody. Dale kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to tell you all about my family, and I think I probably still will. But first of all, Lisa, amazing. The work that, because I work with chapters, I totally understand how much work it takes to do all those events in 1 year. It's like, maybe that's not all 1 year, but maybe through the history of your, but still, that is so amazing. So again, I just want to introduce myself so you get to know me just a little before I start talking. Like Dale said, I'm the Chapter Growth and Development Director at Wisconsin Right to Life. I've been there almost 20 years. It just seems, you know, when you do something that you love to do, it's really not a job, right? And so I keep feeling every day I wake up and it's all of a sudden 20 years has passed and it's kind of who I am. It's fun to work for an organization that gives you that privilege, that it's who I am. I wake up every day and that's who I am. The other part of who I am is this amazing man over here is my husband, like Dale said, Reverend Paul Shirek. We have pastored a church together. We started and founded a church in the small town of Mauston, Wisconsin, near Wisconsin Dells. If anybody knows anything about Wisconsin, it's a pretty rural community, but we started this church about 36 years ago and have been doing the work together ever since. He's also on our board of directors for Wisconsin Right to Life. So whatever we do as a team together. We do church together, we do Right to Life work together, and then we raise our family together, which definitely is a growing family. We have 3 boys who are all married and have children, and then we have a daughter who has 4 children as well. She has done foster care, her and her husband, which has been something really dear to their heart. Our kids grew up in this movement, and so they understood the passions that we had built within them. And when they found themselves not being able to have children, they wanted to do something to help the pro-life cause. And so they started up by adopting 1 little girl through foster care, and then they have a family of three other children, set of twin girls, and then a little boy who recently the adoption has gone through. So we're pretty excited about that. And 14 grandkids. I think I have anybody who's been on the stage so far beat with the number of grandkids. And let me tell you, it's the best part of our life. I've heard it said that children are a reward for not killing your teenagers. So God really needed to reward me quite well. But we are very blessed with our family and what we do together as a couple and as a community and as Right to Life people. So that's a little bit about me. Sometimes if you don't know someone, it's nice to know a little bit of their background before they speak into your life. And that's what I would love to do today, is to speak into us. And this is also for me as well, because I'm in the middle of transitioning leadership to a younger generation. And if we do it well, we're going to keep them on our team. And how many of you know it's imperative that we keep the younger generation on our team, because we're not going to be around forever. And so we have to learn how to pass the torch properly. So I want to read a quote by Miles Monroe, which some of you might know. It says, "True leaders don't invest in buildings. They invest in people." Why? Because success without a successor is failure. So your legacy should not be in buildings, programs, or projects. Your legacy must be in people. We are really good at building programs, aren't we? I mean, we have to. That's what sustains us. It's what keeps us going. It's what keeps people getting involved. But if we focus too much on the programs and the actual building, we're going to miss something really big. Because if we invest in people, we invest in each other, and we invest in the younger generation, what we have built isn't going to die. And that's really important for us to hear this morning. If we want what we're so passionate about to keep going and to keep through the generations and the years to come, we have to have a plan to pass it on to the next generation. We need to engage the young people into our movement. We don't just want them for wanting's sake. Sometimes we should evaluate why we want youth in our movement. When our oldest son went to college years ago, he actually went to Winona State University. He was used to going to church every Sunday, and so he was nervous about going to school. He said, "Mom and Dad, what am I going to do? I mean, am I going to find a church like ours?" And being a pastor's kid, Our church was the only one he ever really knew or understood. And so he went on his journey to look for a church. Well, he was pretty involved in our church, and so he wanted to find a place that he could get involved too. Even though he was just going to college, he wanted his college years to still be impactful at wherever he was around him. And he said as he went from church to church, there were signs that said, "We love youth, come on in." Or another one says, "We have youth programs, welcome youth, we welcome you." And so he tried, he stopped into these places and he walked in and he said, "Mom and Dad, I walk into these places and I don't see any youth. I see all gray hair. There's nothing wrong with it. I have gray hair too. My hairdresser just covers it up." But he said, there's no youth around. Why do they say that we love youth? We want you to become involved. And yet, I don't see anybody. There was nobody greeting at the door that was young. Nobody was ushering that was young. Nobody was doing anything that was young. And he said, are they liars? Are they just, or do they want youth to come in? But he found out that they did have youth programs, but they were after the church service and like in the evenings or during a service underneath where they couldn't be seen. And it bothered him some, because he was used to being involved at our church where he was involved in doing various things. And maybe it's because we made him. You know, when you're the pastor's kids, you have to kind of get involved in everything. But he said it really bothered him to think that he could walk into these places and not find any youth. So today I want to talk about how we can change that. Because if we want the youth to take over for us, and we do. We want them to. We want them. You know, they have so much passion. They have so much excitement. If they really do, if we would just stop and listen to them. If we want them to take over, then we have to ask ourselves some questions. Here's a big question that all of us have to have if we've worked in the movement for any length of time. To keep the younger generation on our team and to pass that baton, some questions we might ask is, how do we find them? Do you ever find yourself asking those questions? You know this has to get done, but how do I find them? And then the next question is, how do we involve them? Some of those questions might be going on. And then the best one of all is, how do we keep them? And how do we keep them on our team? But before we answer those questions, we need to ask ourselves, why do we want the youth so bad? Do we want them so we can just say, "Oh, look at all these youth that we have coming to our events. Oh, look at the youth, aren't they nice?" And maybe some of you who are in charge of organizations statewide, maybe you have donors who really love to give to your programs. We do. Wisconsin has amazing donors who love our youth and want to see them involved in our programs. But that can't be why we want them to be on our team, just because we'll get more money. Because there has to be a deeper reason than that. Do we want them because we're tired and need help? Or do we want them because we actually care about their generation? This is a big key to keeping youth. Because teenagers can look at you and they know if you're putting up a facade. They know if you're lying to them. They know if you care about them or you just say you're caring about them. So we need to ask ourselves that question and evaluate, why do we want our youth involved? So I have a few points that I want to share with us today on how we can keep the youth on our team and eventually pass the baton to them, which is our ultimate goal. Isn't that true? That's our ultimate goal. We don't want our movement to die when we die. We can't. That would be awful. So I know we want to learn this. So the first thing I want to talk about is make sure you want this. So how many chapter leaders or people who are involved in chapters in South Dakota are here? Awesome. So youth bring new ideas to us. And so we can't be afraid when youth come to our chapters, which they should be, we invite them to our chapter meetings whenever possible, have the youth come and give us fresh ideas. But we have to be open to their ideas. So make sure you want the youth around, because once you make that commitment and step out and start including them, we have to keep the ball going. But make sure you're ready for it. I remember when we started our church 36 years ago, no, 34 years ago, 36 years ago. Things were going great. We started to see people come and attend, and then we had kids, and things were going great, and we weren't seeing a lot of young people in our church. And I forgot how old our kids were at the time, but they pulled us aside and they said, we could help you with getting youth involved in our church. They said, because we go to school and they see our testimony, they see who we are, and they really want what we have, but we need to have something for them to bring them to. And so they gave us some ideas. They talked to us about how we dressed. And they talked to us about our programs that we did, and they talked about our music, and about the lighting in the church, and about the decorations that we had up. And, it was really a hard pill to swallow at the time, but we really respected our kids. See, our kids really did want what was right for the church. They wanted their friends to be able to come to a church and grow in Christ, but they wanted their friends and eventually a lot more people to see that we were more than just church, quote unquote. So we listened to them, painful as it was. We changed a little bit of how we did things. We changed up our music. We changed some things, and we didn't change our message. So don't think that because you're catering to a younger generation that you have to change the message, because they want your message. They want your passion. They want what we have, but it doesn't have to look how we think it's going to look. It's going to look a little bit different. So to reach our youth, we have to involve them, and we have to be willing to listen when they try to speak into our lives. And we can't be offended and think we're too big not to listen to them, because eventually we want to be able to partner with them. We want to partner with them not just for the Right to Life cause, but every other good thing in life that God puts in our way. Isn't that right? We want to keep them on our team. So we can't be afraid to listen to what they have to say. Focus on their passion. This is number 2. Focus on their passion for life and not their ways. They will not do it the same way, so don't be offended when they don't do it the same way. They're not going to dress like us. They're not going to look like us. I remember one of the first times, one of our youth meetings years ago, we had a conference for youth, and there was a bunch of teenagers that came in. Some had blue hair, some had tattoos, and they just had holy jeans. And at that time, it was like, oh my gosh, what is this? But they were so passionate about the Right to Life issue. They wanted to learn more. They came up to me and said, what can we do to help you? We want to learn more. And I had to put totally aside what I saw physically on the outside and look into their heart. Because they want what we have. They want to have the same understanding, and they want to help others like we do. And we can pass it on to them. We don't have to think, oh, they're just young. They're just young, and someday when I'm dead and gone, they can do it their way. No, let's embrace who they are, because they're not going to change. Centuries ago, they wore robes and sandals and tassels, and their passion for what they did was real, and they passed that along to us along the generations through the years. But do we still wear robes? No. We wear what our society has us to wear. So let's not be afraid when our kids come up with things. Maybe they don't look the same, maybe they don't dress the same as we think that they should. But remember, if we're going to pass this on, we are going to have to listen to them. We're going to have to realize that we're not preparing them to live in our generation. We're preparing them to live where they're at. A Gallup poll in 2021 said that 39% of teens would say that they're pro-life. Now, that's a fair number, but it's not near enough. I think if we can get into their world and have them see that we really love them, that we really care about them, that we want to see them succeed, that we want to see them be leaders in this movement, I think that number can grow. And I think that if we change our attitude, change the way that we look at the whole spectrum of youth and in this movement, I think we can see that differently. We need a fresh look at how we do things. A fresh look. Listen to their heart. You know, change is hard for us. I forgot who said it, but the quote is, the only one who likes change is a wet baby. We have to be ready for change. We have to be ready to listen to the changes that our younger generation want to bring to us because it's good for us. Just like years ago when our kids came to us and said, Mom and Dad, this church is great and we love it and you're awesome, but we're not going to bring any youth in if we keep doing the things that we're doing in the same way. So we had to do some deep soul searching and some changing. I know last night when I was doing the introduction, I said we just can't throw pizza at them and think that we're reaching them. To be honest, they really like pizza. Kids like pizza. They like their stomach full, and they like it when you care about them to feed them. So when we have our youth meetings and involve them, of course we feed them. But it's not the only thing that we do. Number 3 is be willing to change some of your methods with still staying true to your message. Change our methods with still staying true to your message. I want to take just a few minutes and talk about the programs that Wisconsin Right to Life has. As the chapter director of a statewide organization, Wisconsin has 72 counties. So to date, we have chapters in 50 counties. We're trying to, of course, reach it more. Some of our counties are very rural, and only deer and buffalo live up there. Well, I don't think we have buffalo, do we? No, we don't have buffalo. But only animals live up in some of the counties. So we try to combine some of the more rural areas. But we do have grassroots chapters on about 50 counties. And along with that, we have teen groups, which are scattered throughout the state. We have several teen groups throughout that our chapters help. And then we have our college program, which I'm so excited about. We started our college program probably about 12 years ago with just a couple chapters on college campuses. And this year, we're going to be giving out 16 college grants. And not only do we give out the grants, but we help other campuses to train them and to help them. One of our college campuses, which is really important, is the medical college in Wisconsin. Of course, we know that if we can educate and help them be pro-life in their values, we're going to produce some pro-life doctors, which we desperately need throughout our whole land. But when we started all of these programs, so as far as our chapter leaders go, right now we're working on helping them to transition into getting youth involved, transition into to bringing them on board with them. So what we encourage them to do is invite the teens to your meetings and give them positions. And that might seem kind of scary to you, but if we're going to expect them to understand what we do, we just need to engineer some stuff for them. My husband always told our kids, because he thought life was too easy for them, he said, I need to engineer some hardships for you. They hated that when he said it, but we need to engineer some things for our youth of today so they can feel like they're a part of what we do and not just coming to a meeting and sitting there. Let them talk. In fact, encourage them to talk. We encourage our chapter leaders to have them have a time where they just talk about what they're passionate about and ask for help with their teen programs that they do. So I love that we're doing that. Could we be doing it more? Absolutely. Are teens stubborn sometimes? Absolutely. But we keep inviting them, and little by little, they're transitioning into feeling like they're part of this big organization instead of just our teens or just our college groups. And part of transitioning means that we have to train them and to teach them too. So this is amazing. You have this youth portion of this convention. Amazing, absolutely important to teach our teens in a way that they need. I know that Seth is teaching about apologetics. I think he's doing it right now, actually, which is important for them to understand the concepts and how they're going to present themselves in a pro-life world, in a community that's not pro-life, I should say. But we train them, and that's very, very important. So all of you who are chapter leaders, remember we have to train them. And in our college areas, we train them also. But what we like to do is keep them all on our team. So we have had a few of our college students who have first attended the National Right to Life Academy, which is a 6-week intensive program in Washington, D.C., where they hear from the best and learn. And then they come back to the state and they teach us, which is also amazing. So we have had college students do that, and then they come back and then run groups on their campus. We have had 2 or 3 different students who have went through our teen programs, college programs. Some of them have been to the National Right to Life Academy that are now on staff with us at Wisconsin Right to Life. And I feel like that is a success. Now, we haven't done 100% of the things correct, but I feel like when you train them, when you link arm in arm with them, and you help them along the way, you understand who they are, you try to understand their concepts and their worlds that they live in, because it's definitely different than ours. We can keep them on our team. And even some of the college students that have graduated, maybe not working with us, but they're working in pregnancy centers throughout the state. We have one who's in a whole other state, affecting a whole big ministry through her life on campus experience that she had with us. So that's just a little sampling of what can happen when we keep the teens and the college kids on our side. We want them, don't we? In fact, I call some of them and I'll say, what should I wear today? Do I look like an old grandma? I mean, so some of those little things you don't think are big, but if we can stay on their team just a little bit, they're going to respect us and they're going to grow, which is what we want. Let them help you with certain things. So social media for us can be kind of a challenge, isn't that right? And things are changing every day, but for some reason, this young generation just keeps up with it, and it's like, when did that happen? And how did you know that? And this, but they understand social media because that's where they live. So it'll be good for us to learn some of the things that they know, and if we don't know those things like social media platforms and how to advertise and how to do what we need to do to invite people to our meetings, ask them, and I guarantee they'll be happy to show you how to do it. Sometimes I'll be working on something and one of my kids, so our youngest is 30 years old already, but sometimes she'll come and she'll pull the phone out of my hand and say, Mom, what are you doing? Just do it this way, it'll be so much faster. So we need the young kids around us still. We need them to push us in, to give us our edge so we don't get old too fast. I know it's kind of hard for us to swallow, but I'm kind of talking to me too. That's how I justified a little bit of my tone today, because I'm talking to myself too. So my fourth thing is I want to talk about is empowering young people. Make certain their work is visible at public events. So when we're going to empower them, they need to see that we value them. They need to see that we really, truly are including them and wanting to pass the baton to them. Just like my son who went to college and was looking for a church. It wasn't visible to him that there was any youth involved. It wasn't visible at all. So I think it's important for us to realize that we need to make them a part. And I saw a lot of young people around here helping, which is amazing. And we need that because we're not going to be here forever. So how many of you like football? So how many of you like the Packers? I know I'm too close to Minnesota to talk about that. I knew that I'd get a couple boos. But everybody knows who Brett Favre is, correct? You guys know Brett Favre. He's a star. He's a great quarterback. We cheer him on. He's been there a long time. But I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about all the people on the bench. All the people on the bench that are waiting for their turn to be a Brett Favre. So people in your life, you may not know this, but there's young people in your life who are looking at you like a Brett Favre, like, look what they're doing. They're changing lives. They're helping the women. They're restoring broken homes and broken lives. And I can't wait. They're itching at the edge of their seat, waiting for their turn to be important enough to do it. Well, in reality, they should be important enough now. Look at all of the characters in the Bible who were young teenagers when they got tasks from God to do things. Sometimes we look at our youth and we say, their time is coming. Just put them over here for now. Let's include them. Let's say we have them as part of our organizations. Just say it. But then when we're older and they get a little older, then we'll give them things to do. No, they're itching. They're waiting on the sidelines, waiting for a chance to jump in and do what we're doing. And what a joy and what a privilege it is. It shouldn't be a threat to us. If it's a threat, we need to totally change our thinking. It should be a thrill and a joy to us that they can't wait to get off that seat and take over what we're doing. They're not doing it because they think they can do it better, although they probably are. But it's good that they think that, because if they think they can do it better, that's good. We don't want mediocre, and you're not going to get that from the youth. You're not going to get mediocre at all from them. You're going to get 100% commitment from them if we stay in tune with them, if we try to partner with them. Remember, they're waiting to throw that football down the field. They think they can do it better than Brett Favre. They probably can, whatever. But anyway, they think they can do it better than us, and we want them to do that. We cheer them on. Yes, you can do it better. Yes, go for it. Yes, you can run after your dreams and your goals, and we're going to help you. Because this movement has been around for a lot of years, and who knows how much longer we're going to have to fight the fight. Even when Roe v. Wade gets turned around, there still will be work to do in the States. So we need passionate youth. We need passionate teenagers and passionate college students now who are getting a taste of what it's like to be in leadership with this movement, because we need great leaders, and we can be a part of helping that process happen. Things like teaching, letting them teach some of the sessions. We have a teen camp that I forgot to mention earlier with our teen programs. We have a teen camp that we have every year. One whole week we take them up north and train the dickens out of them. I mean, it's like a fire hose of information. Yet we have lots of fun too. All the evenings are fun. We have a lot of sessions during the day. But we let them help us decide what we're going to do at that camp. How is this going to help you? What do you need from us to help this session be better for you? What do you need from us? Is there something that you can do? We have them teach some of the sessions. We have them helping us put things together, and they really love that. Have them mentoring other students. Our college program, like I mentioned, the reason that we have some of the same campuses we had at the beginning, and it's been 12 years later, or maybe it's been longer, but at least 12, we still have those college groups because the seniors are mentoring the younger students to be a leader. So the group never has to die. The group can still keep going. And I think that's amazing. So my fifth and my last point that I want to bring is I'm going to talk about passing the baton while creating a legacy. They're watching for us to finish well. Maybe you started out in this movement and it's been a lot of years. Maybe some of you have been here like from the beginning, and I commend you. It's a hard battle. It's not a very pleasant battle to keep fighting, but we do it because we know it's going to help some people. They're watching for us to finish well, but we are getting weary. Our time is getting closer to being done, and we're getting weary. And sometimes we can make a big mistake enough to drop us from here back down to here. They're watching us. So keeping our commitment level, yet keeping our integrity, is extremely important. Because if we want our students to take over what we're doing, we need to keep that going. We need to keep their energy as long as we can. And I know that the energy as we get older is less and less because we think, how many more years are we going to have to fight this battle? But in our season of growing weary, let's not lose the integrity that we have. Let's not fall off the wagon and decide that we're going to leave and get mad and upset for some little thing. If we can keep up our integrity, keep up what we're doing, and pass the baton graciously, we're going to have a very, very healthy next generation that's going to take over what we're doing. And we want that, right? We want a healthy generation to take over. I think about passing the baton like a race. You know, when you do a relay race and you're running and running, the person who's passing the baton keeps running, and the person waiting for the baton doesn't just stand there and wait for the baton to be dropped in their lap. What happens is the last meters or whatever before as the baton gets passed, they're running with them. They're running step in step with them, and then nonchalantly the baton is passed, and then they keep going. That's a good way to pass on what you have developed and grown in all of your chapters and all of what you're doing. It doesn't have to be just right to life work. It can be any good work that is saving lives. So we need to remember that we have a baton to pass, and we can't pass it when we're in the grave. So sometimes we get the mentality like, yeah, I'm just going to keep working until I'm really old and die, and then the younger generation can take it. We can't. That doesn't happen. Because if you wait too long and wait until you are in the ground, you're going to lose momentum. The momentum of the relay race keeps going because the person running to take the baton is running in sync with you and then going to grab the baton and go. And the only way that can happen is if you're both thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, I'm waiting. Yeah, now you can have it. But you can't do arm in arm, and you can't do a relay race to handoff if you quit. If you just decide I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to quit. This is too hard. Find somebody to mentor. Find the young people who are passionate, and there's plenty of them. Find the ones who have leadership qualities and decide you're going to fan into flame the gift that God has given them to be a leader. Decide that you are going to make a difference and be the difference in the lives of the youth around you, because that's the only way that we can assure that the next generation is going to take over healthy. Otherwise, the baton gets dropped and they have to start over and they get discouraged and think, how am I going to start? But if you have started it for them and given them lots of good years, they're going to look at you and say, oh my gosh, I want that. I want what they have. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to take the baton and they're not going to say, okay, now it's time for you to get out of here. Just go. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you questions and come back and say, how did you do this? You know, they may have had all the ideas and thinking they could do it on their own, but they're going to find out that they need to come back and say, you know, I thought I could do this, but could you help me a little bit? Could you give me some pointers? And you're going to say, I'd be happy to, because we're in this together. We're a team together. And we have to be accepting of them. We need to be loving on them. Give them lots of pizza. Feed them. Do whatever you have to. Pay for their way to do things that they can't afford, because how many of us know teenagers are passionate, but they have no money, and they either come to mom and dad or some great donors who want to help them, and that is awesome. Make sure that you're there for them in every kind of support level that they need. Pay for them to go to training that they want. March for Life, a conference, the National Right to Life Convention, even the National Right to Life Academy, which is amazing. If you see some promising individuals that have leadership potential, that is a great place for them to go and to learn so much more. But they need us. They need us to be there. They need us to not judge them for who they are. And if we don't judge them, they're not going to judge us. So we can dress however we want. But if we're not going to judge them how they dress and just accept them and just put your arm around them and say, hey, you are amazing. You did such a good job. Maybe you just gave them a job of greeting at one of your meetings, and when it's over, go to them and hug them and say, you did such a good job. Overkill, yeah. But it keeps them on your team. You want them there. Give them stuff to do. They want that. When I talk about our church a lot because we have transitioned quite a bit over the years. Most of our church is young families now. We hardly see any gray hair, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but we have a lot of older people too. Don't get me wrong, that really are encouraging to our younger people. All of our staff is about 32 or under, and they're amazing. We have built our time and the extra effort to building into them so that they can go and reach their generation. So if you find leaders, that's a good thing to do. But I remember that when we first started our church, I did everything. I cleaned, I led worship, I did nursery, I did everything. I ushered, I did everything that was possible. And I'm going to say I'm 60 years old. I just turned 60. And I have passed every bit of what I do in ministry on to the younger people. I do nothing anymore, and it's kind of scary. But they come to me, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I like it. It's hard at first. It's hard just to come to church and to not do stuff. And it'd be hard for you to come to your chapter meetings and do nothing, but it's good. It's good. It's a good thing to be. So I want to close with that today, and I want to thank you so much for listening to me, and I really hope that some of these things that are shared today will be helpful to us bringing our next generation on board with us and passing the torch properly. Thank you.